Check. Check, check. Check. Check, check. Check, check.
I don't think so. No offense, of course. I'm just not a... Sorry.
Oh, good.
Find a skooma? Oh, a snitch, huh? Can't running any guards now, can I?
Again, you're not the only one here. There's, Joseph was here as well.
When They Live hit theaters in the 1980s, many people dismissed it as just another low-budget science fiction film. But beneath the alien invasion and action scenes, there was a powerful message about media control, consumerism, and the systems that have shaped society to this day. Directed by John Carpenter and starring wrestling legend Roddy Piper, the film has gained cult status and inspired artists, scholars, and everyday viewers alike. Here are 20 facts about They Live that will open your eyes wider than a pair of black sunglasses. 20. The movie is still studied in film schools today. Even though the film They Live came out in the late 1980s, it is still being talked about in college classrooms across the world today. Many film and media studies students are shown this movie to learn how films use science fiction and horror to discuss serious real-life issues. The film They Live is often praised for the way it combines simple storytelling with deep social messages. The fact that the movie also used black and white scenes to show the hidden truth of society, along with its bold use of signs like obey and consume, has reportedly helped students. The movie has made students see how films can criticize things like consumerism, media control, and blind loyalty. Instructors often use this movie to show how low-budget films can still have significant meaning and a substantial impact. The film is also used in courses that focus on political messages in movies. Many teachers use it as a way to talk about the connection between government, media, and corporations. This is because of its strong stand against mind control and how the rich control the poor. It is often connected to discussions about propaganda and social power. The fact that people still study this movie decades later shows how powerful its message is. It may look like just a science fiction action film on the surface, but the deeper meaning of the film is what keeps people coming back to watch and learn from it. 19. The famous line about bubblegum was not in the script.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Now, one of the most quoted lines from the film They Live is, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum." Although many fans have assumed this line was written by the movie's director John Carpenter, that's not the case. That line was entirely improvised by the film's star, Roddy Piper. Before filming, Piper gave Carpenter a notebook that was filled with one-liners that he had written down during his time as a professional wrestler. Carpenter loved the bubblegum line so much that he told Piper to say it during the scene inside the bank, and it instantly became one of the most iconic moments in the film. The line stood out in the movie because it was both funny and unexpected, which also added to the charm of the character in the scene. That simple line ended up becoming one of the most famous movie quotes of all time, which was often copied and referenced in pop culture, video games, and even music. It also showed how Piper's wrestling background added something special to the film that a traditional actor might not have been able to deliver. Many people who watched the movie for the first time still remember that scene above all others, and it has become a massive part of what made the movie a cult classic. The fact that it was not even planned also shows how sometimes the best movie moments happen by surprise. 18. The film was deeply personal to John Carpenter. To many viewers, They Live is just a cool science fiction film with action and aliens, but to the man who directed it, it was more than just a movie. It was personal, and Carpenter has always explained in interviews that he made the film as a response to what he saw happening in America at the time. He felt frustrated about the growing gap between the rich and the poor, and he believed that big businesses and political leaders were tricking regular people through television and advertising. He used this film to express how he felt, from his anger to his fear and disappointment with the world around him. It wasn't just entertainment for him, it was his way of speaking out. Carpenter was most especially upset with the way the media controlled how people thought and what they bought. He also believed that messages telling people to obey, stay asleep, and consume were already everywhere, even without the aliens that his film portrayed. By turning those feelings he had into a movie, he created a powerful message that was disguised as a science fiction thriller. He even once joked in an interview that They Live is more of a documentary than a fiction story. That shows how real the message he put in the film felt to him. This personal touch is also part of what makes the film so bold and lasting, and it came from the heart of someone who truly wanted people to wake up and look at the world differently. 17. Keith David was handpicked by Carpenter for the role. Keith David did not land the role of Frank by chance. As a matter of fact, John Carpenter personally chose him for the movie. The two had already worked together on another popular film called The Thing, which came out in the early 1980s. Carpenter was reportedly so impressed by Keith David's strong presence and deep voice that he knew he wanted him in his film They Live from the very beginning. He didn't want someone who just looked tough. He also wanted someone who felt real, someone who could stand toe-to-toe with Roddy Piper and hold his own. That's why the role of Frank was written with Keith David in mind, and Carpenter didn't even consider anyone else for it. Keith David brought more than just acting to the role. He also brought heart, and his Frank character is not just a sidekick. His character represented the everyday worker who wanted to survive and protect his family and not get involved in trouble. His realistic approach to the situation gives the movie balance. Without him, Nada's wild journey might have felt too one-sided. The chemistry between the two actors, especially during their famous alley fight scene, is part of what makes the film so memorable. Carpenter's choice to cast Keith David helped ground the movie and gave it a much-needed emotional core. 16. The film inspired music, games, and fashion. Even though They Live came out more than 3 decades ago, its impact has reportedly continued to show up in surprising places, especially in music, video games, and clothing. Many artists, especially in hip-hop and punk rock, have referenced the film's themes and even sampled its famous lines. Most bands and rappers known for discussing politics and social justice often cite They Live as a significant inspiration. The movie's message about hidden control and rebellion against the system resonates with many people who want to speak out against power. That's why the film keeps popping up in songs, posters, and even music videos. In the world of fashion and gaming, the movie's look and ideas have also left a significant mark. The black and white vision from the sunglasses, the strange-faced aliens, and the bold messages like obey and consume have been copied and reimagined in many styles. Some video games have reportedly even created levels or missions that came straight out of They Live. Clothing lines and streetwear brands have used the movie's artwork or slogans to make statements against modern consumer culture. The movie's sharp design, along with its profound message, makes it perfect for creative people to borrow from. Its legacy is also not just in film history, it's in the culture all around us. 15. It did not do well at the box office, but became a cult classic. When They Live was first released in theaters in 1988, it did not become a big hit like some people had hoped, even though it had a strong opening weekend. People's interest in the movie quickly dropped, and it did not make a lot of money compared to other films that were released that year. Critics were also mixed in their reviews, though some of them liked its message, while others thought it was too strange or too slow. For a while, it looked like They Live was going to be forgotten. Along the line, something unexpected happened. Soon, people started discovering it years later through VHS tapes, DVDs, and TV reruns. Through this, the film slowly built a large and loyal fan base. Fans began to appreciate the movie for its bold style, deep meaning, and unique mix of science fiction, action, and political commentary. What was once weird or simple now felt smart and looked ahead of its time. There was also the film's message about hidden control and mass obedience, which became more powerful as the years went by, especially as the world became more and more focused on media and advertising. Today, They Live is considered a cult classic, a movie that might not have succeeded at first, but is now loved by people all over the world. It went on to prove that a film doesn't have to be a hit right away to make a lasting impact. 14. John Carpenter once said the film felt like a documentary. John Carpenter has made many wild and imaginative movies. Still, when he talks about They Live in interviews, he often says the film feels more like a documentary than fiction. Of course, he doesn't mean that aliens are hiding among us. Still, he's always serious about the message behind the story, because to him, the idea that powerful groups control people through advertising, media, and fake promises is not just science fiction, it's reality. He once explained in interviews that the movie's themes reflect what he truly believes is happening in societies around the world, especially during the 1980s. When big business and political lies were all around. The aliens were just a way to show that truth in a dramatic and fun way. By calling the film a documentary, Carpenter was making a very bold statement. He believed that people were being trained to follow orders, buy things they didn't need, and accept whatever those in power told them. Instead of preaching or giving a speech, he sat down and made a movie that would entertain people while also opening their eyes. Many viewers today have reportedly said that They Live feels even more real now than it did back then. Carpenter's words now remind us that behind all the action and weirdness, the film was always meant to be a wake-up call. 13. There's a hidden message in the TV broadcast signals. In the world of They Live, people didn't just get tricked by aliens that were walking around in human skin. They're also being brainwashed through the television. One of the significant key plot points in the film is that the aliens send out a secret broadcast signal that hides their true appearance and keeps people blind to the actual truth. When people wear the special sunglasses, they can finally see what's going on around them. This hidden signal is what allows the aliens to stay in control without anyone noticing. The idea that TV could also be used to control thoughts wasn't just a random detail because it was one of the strongest messages in the whole movie. This part of the story was Carpenter's way of showing how powerful media can be used in shaping what people believe, buy, and even fear. In the film, the characters eventually trace the signal to a giant satellite that is hidden inside a TV station. Once they had it destroyed, people all over the world finally woke up and saw the aliens for what they are. The hidden signal, according to the film, represents how news, commercials, and shows can distract or deceive people in real life. Even though it's a science fiction idea, many viewers reportedly saw this as a sharp warning about trusting everything you see on screen. 12. The alien design was inspired by skulls and old pulp science fiction.
I've got one that can see.
The creepy, bug-eyed aliens in They Live have a look that remains in your mind for a long time, even after the movie ends, and that was precisely the point. According to John Carpenter, he didn't want them to look like slimy monsters or giant creatures because they could easily be forgotten or generalized. Instead, he chose something more unsettling. He wanted aliens that seemed almost human, but with rotting flesh, bulging eyes, and skeletal features. Human skulls partly inspired the design for these aliens, because Carpenter believed skulls were both familiar and disturbing. He reportedly thought the aliens should represent death and decay, hiding behind pretty faces and expensive suits. Their look was also influenced by the covers of old science fiction magazines from the 1950s, which often showed bizarre beings controlling Earth from the shadows. To make them stand out and look different, Carpenter filmed all alien scenes in black and white whenever someone put on the sunglasses. This helped to make their strange appearance feel more surreal and dreamlike. The black and white shots also made their skin look dry and dead, which added more to the message that these aliens, though rich and powerful, had no soul. The designs weren't just meant to be scary, they also helped tell the story, and by making them look like walking corpses hiding behind money and influence, the film showed how the ones in charge were draining life from everyone else. The aliens looked simple, but they carried a heavy message. 11. The film originally had a very different ending. The ending of They Live is powerful and unforgettable because Nada, the hero, destroys the signal that's been hiding the aliens, and people all over the world finally begin to see the truth. But that wasn't always how it was supposed to go, because the early versions of the script and some behind-the-scenes notes revealed that John Carpenter had a much darker and more ambiguous ending in mind at first. In one version of the ending, the aliens win and the resistance fails. In another version, the story closes with no clear answer, which was an attempt to leave viewers unsure if the fight made any difference at all. These endings were supposedly meant to reflect how difficult it is to wake people up or take down robust systems truly. But Carpenter, after much deliberation, changed the ending before the movie was released. He decided to give the audience something bold, loud, and final. Nada sacrifices himself in the last moments to destroy the hidden transmitter, and his death reveals the aliens to everyone. This made it a mix of tragedy and victory that gave the movie a more emotional punch. The change was also to help send a clearer message that even one person, if brave enough, can shake the system. Still, knowing there was once a darker version reminds us that the fight in They Live was always meant to be hard, messy, and dangerous, which is just like real-life resistance. 10. The studio did not fully understand the movie. When John Carpenter brought the idea for They Live to the studio, they agreed to make it, but they didn't fully grasp the scope of the film they were undertaking. On the surface for them, it looked like just another low-budget science fiction action story with a wrestler playing the lead role, which made it easy for the studio to get the green light for production. But Carpenter had something more profound in mind, and he wanted to deliver a sharp attack on consumer culture, the media, and even the government of the time. Many of the executives supposedly didn't pick up on how political the film was, and when it finally came out, they reportedly weren't sure how to promote it. They ended up marketing it as a basic action movie, which didn't capture the whole spirit of the story. And because of this misunderstanding, the film didn't get the kind of support it might have needed to succeed in theaters. Some critics and audiences were reportedly surprised by how openly it attacked social and political issues, and others weren't sure what to make of it. Carpenter himself later admitted in interviews that the studio didn't know what he was up to, and if they had, they might not have made the film at all. This confusion is one reason They Live struggled at first, but it also explains why the movie feels so rebellious, because it slipped through the cracks as a piece of art that didn't quite fit the Hollywood mold. 9. Shepard Fairey's Obey brand was inspired by the film. One of the most significant cultural impacts of They Live can be seen in the world of street art. Shepard Fairey, the artist behind the famous Barack Obama Hope poster, has openly stated that the movie directly inspired his Obey Giant art campaign. In They Live, when Nada puts on the sunglasses, he sees that billboards, magazines, and ads all hide subliminal words like obey, consume, and stay asleep. Fairey took that idea and turned it into an art movement. He began placing stickers and posters with the word obey and a face on walls, street signs, and buildings, spreading the message the same way advertising spreads products. This connection helped keep the film alive in popular culture. Even people who had never watched They Live were still seeing its ideas through Fairey's work. His campaign evolved into clothing lines, artworks, and a global movement that challenged authority and consumer culture. By using such a simple word as obey, he carried Carpenter's message into the real world. It shows how powerful the film's imagery was, since it could inspire an artist years later to turn it into a movement that people still recognize today. They Live didn't just stay on screen, it shaped how art and fashion looked in the streets. 8. The messages obey and consume became part of street culture. One of the most unforgettable parts of They Live is the moment Nada first puts on the sunglasses and sees the world as it is. Instead of the world being filled with colorful ads and posters, he sees plain black and white commands like obey, consume, marry and reproduce, and stay asleep. These were shocking images that reportedly made the audience laugh and think at the same time. Over the years, those words broke out of the movie. They became part of real-life culture when people started using them in graffiti, posters, stickers, and even clothing lines to make statements about how advertising and media control our choices. These simple but powerful slogans connected with people because they felt true in everyday life. Just like in the film, many people believed the world was filled with hidden messages urging them to buy things, follow rules, and not question authority. 7. The film was a direct attack on Reagan-era consumerism. John Carpenter made They Live during Ronald Reagan's presidency that pushed America into a culture of big business, material wealth, and media influence. Carpenter was a public critic of this era, and he wanted to make a film that exposed how ordinary people were being controlled by the rich and powerful. The aliens in the movie were not just monsters from another world. They were symbols of greedy corporations and corrupt leaders who treated people like disposable workers. The constant messages to obey and consume were Carpenter's way of showing how advertising and politics trained people to live without questioning authority. Carpenter later admitted in interviews that he was angry when he made the film because he saw how the poor and middle class were struggling while the wealthy kept getting richer, and he believed that the media was hiding the truth to keep people calm. That is why the movie feels so blunt and aggressive, because it was his protest in the form of science fiction. At the time, some viewers thought he was being too extreme, but now many people reportedly see They Live as a sharp warning about consumer culture and blind loyalty. 6. The sunglasses were more than just props. The black sunglasses in They Live are one of the most essential things in the whole film. At first glance, they appear to be just a cool accessory for Nada, the main character, but they represent much more. Whenever someone puts them on, they see the truth about the world in black and white, the aliens hiding as humans, and the secret messages hidden in billboards, magazines, and TV screens. Without the glasses, people live blind, following the orders given to them without ever knowing it. With the glasses, they wake up and finally see reality. Carpenter designed this idea to be simple but powerful so that anyone watching could understand the more profound message right away. The glasses were meant to symbolize awareness, knowledge, and the courage to face uncomfortable truths. They also show how sometimes people don't want to see reality because it's ugly or painful, but once they do, they can't ignore it anymore. This makes the sunglasses more than just a science fiction gimmick. They are the key to the story's message. 5. The famous fight scene was choreographed like a wrestling match. Another legendary moment in They Live is the long fight scene between Nada and Frank in the back alley. Instead of the fight lasting for just a few seconds like most movie fights, this one goes on for more than 5 minutes. And this makes it one of the longest hand-to-hand fight scenes in film history. The fight looks so real because Roddy Piper, a professional wrestler, helped design it to feel like a wrestling match. He and Keith David reportedly spent weeks rehearsing every punch, slam, and fall until it looked natural. Some of the moves used even came directly from Piper's wrestling background, giving the fight a style that was different from regular movie brawls. The scene is remembered not only for its length, but also for its purpose, as Nada tries to force Frank to wear the sunglasses and see the truth. But Frank refuses. Instead of simply agreeing, the two beat each other up until Frank finally gives in. The fight is exhausting, brutal, and even a little funny at times, largely due to its duration, which sets it apart from typical action scenes. 4. The infamous alley fight scene lasted over 5 minutes. When people talk about They Live, one of the first things they mention is the unforgettable fight that happened in the alley between Nada and Frank. Now, what makes this scene so shocking is not just how intense the fight in it is, but how long it goes on. The fight lasts for more than 5 full minutes, which is extremely rare for any movie, especially one with a small budget. Most fights in movies are short and flashy, but this one was done and shown to be raw, gritty, and feels almost too real. The fight scene where Nada just wants Frank to put on the sunglasses and see the truth, but Frank refuses, and the result is a painful battle that turns into a full-blown street war that was drawn out between two men who actually care about each other. This wasn't some last-minute action scene either. It wasn't to maybe fill up the time frame for the length of time they wanted. Carpenter gave the actors the freedom to take their time, and because of their hard work and practice, the fight turned into one of the most iconic scenes in all of science fiction. Every punch, slam, and grunt from the fight builds up frustration and emotion, showing how hard it can be to make someone else see the truth, even if it's right in front of them. The fight is more than just a brawl. It is also a physical symbol of the struggle between ignorance and awareness, and it helped make They Live a film people still talk about to this day. 3. Roddy Piper was chosen over Kurt Russell. John Carpenter had already worked with actor Kurt Russell on several films like Escape from New York and The Thing, so it would have made more sense for him to cast Russell as the lead in They Live. But this time, instead of doing that, Carpenter chose someone different. He chose someone who truly looked and felt like a working-class outsider. That's the reason he picked professional wrestler Roddy Piper to play the role of Nada. Carpenter met Piper at WrestleMania 3 and was reportedly impressed by his raw energy. He didn't want a Hollywood star for the role. He wanted a fighter, someone people could believe had lived a hard life. The choice for the role raised eyebrows at the time, since Piper had never led a major movie before. But Carpenter was so sure and followed his instincts. In the end, it paid off. Piper brought a unique mix of toughness and humor to the role that made Nada stand out. His real-life background as a wrestler helped make the film's physical scenes more believable, especially the alley fight. Piper's way of delivering his lines, especially the famous bubblegum quote, added personality that no one else could have given. Looking back, many fans and critics have reportedly agreed that casting Piper instead of a polished movie star gave They Live the edge and grit that made it a cult classic. 2. John Carpenter used a pseudonym for the screenplay. Even though John Carpenter directed They Live, he didn't put his real name on the screenplay. Instead, he used the fake name Frank Armitage. Now, here is the thing. This wasn't just a random choice. This was a quiet tribute to the famous horror writer H.P. Lovecraft, whose stories often talked about hidden truths, ancient evils, and powerful forces controlling humanity from the shadows. One of Lovecraft's characters in his stories was named Henry Armitage, and Carpenter used the name Frank Armitage as a clever way of acknowledging that world of mysterious knowledge and cosmic horror. It also matched the tone of They Live perfectly, since the movie is all about hidden control and unseen forces shaping the world. Carpenter has said in interviews that he used the pseudonym partly because he didn't want too much attention on himself for writing something so politically aggressive. He wanted the message of the movie to stand on its own. It was also his way of letting fans know that the story came from a darker, more mysterious place, not just a standard action film. For viewers who recognize the Lovecraft connection, the use of Frank Armitage adds an extra layer of meaning. 1. The film was based on a short story called 8 O'Clock in the Morning. Before They Live was ever a movie, it started as a short story at the time that was called 8 O'Clock in the Morning, and Ray Nelson wrote it in the year 1963. The story was about a man who, after being hypnotized at a stage show, suddenly woke up and realized that aliens were secretly running the world. These aliens were hiding in plain sight, and only he could see them for what they were. He also learns that he only has until 8 o'clock the next morning to stop them before he dies. The story was short and powerful, and it reportedly stuck with John Carpenter for years. When he decided to turn it into a movie, he expanded the idea, added action scenes, and brought in new characters like Nada and Frank. Carpenter stayed true to the heart of the original story of someone waking up to the truth and fighting back against hidden rulers, but gave it his style. He added the sunglasses, the street rebellion, the TV signals, and the strong anti-consumerism message that made They Live so unique. Ray Nelson's story was just the foundation that Carpenter needed, and Carpenter built a world on top of it that, to this day, still supposedly speaks to audiences. By adapting a small science fiction tale into a bold, action-filled movie with a message, Carpenter showed that big ideas can come from the simplest beginnings. Which of these facts shocked you? Share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to share this video, like it, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, click on the video displayed on your screen.